Hi everyone. In today's video I'm going to be making a box for these little heart-shaped bath fizzers. Now I actually bought these last year but I never used them and they've been sat in my drawer of my desk for over 12 months, so I thought I'd do a little project. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a little box, and I'm not doing this on the ScanNCut, I'm actually doing this, I've done this by hand. So I'm going to show you the process that I used to come up with the size of this box, and hopefully it will fit. So I'm using my Stampin' Up grid paper, but you could just buy some graph paper or use some plain paper and then measure it all at the end. Basically I took 3 of my fizzers and I actually positioned them like this, but I've made a prototype just in paper and they do actually all fit in this way. So I'll show you in a minute and then it'll all become clear. So basically what I did, I positioned these on my grid paper and using a ruler I drew on an inch line to get me a baseline, and then I drew on the next nearest line to give me my top line, and this space here is 1 3/4 inches, and this space here actually becomes the bottom of the box. So I drew a rectangle around it. Basically that was my starting point. So then I measured on my grid paper, this has got a flat edge which made it easier, so I put the flat edge up against the ruler part here, and I worked out that the depth was about 3/4 of an inch, so I added a bit more on and said 1 inch. So if you think of this as the base of the box, and these are 1 inch high, so you need 1 inch up, so I added 1 inch on here, then you need 1 inch on this side high, so this is like your front and back. If these are 1 inch, you've got to add 1 inch on at your sides, and then this is this is this bit here, this is this bit here, so then you need a lid. Whatever the depth of this section is here, you've got to add on here for your lid, and then I added 1/2 inch for a flap. So literally I ended up with this rectangle. I went wrong here, that's why I've got some crossing out. So I measured then from here to here, and that was 6 inches, and from here to here was 7. So that then tells me that to make this in card, I need a piece of card that is 7 by 6. I know that the front and the back are 1 inch, so my matting layers for my designer series paper I've made at 3/4 of an inch, and I know that this is 5 inches wide, so I've took 1/4 of an inch off, so I've made these 4 3/4. So these are going to be the matting layers for here, so 4 3/4 by 3/4 of an inch. I know that my top is 1 3/4 inches, so I've made this 1 1/2 by 4 3/4. And then I know that each of my side pieces are 1 inch, so I've made them 3/4 of an inch by 1 1/2. If that makes sense. And then where I've got the crosses, these are going to be the glue flaps, and these 2 bits here are going to be the bit that I cut away. So if you kind of use that principle, you can make a box for anything. So let me just move all these bits out of the way. Now I am using designer series paper from Stampin' Up, but this is last year's designer series paper because, to be fair, I don't really do Valentine, so I didn't find the need to buy the suite. So I'll put those on one side. Then I've got some scrap in Flirty Flamingo to match the base card, and I've got some scrap white which is on my mat here. I've stamped the little ladybug with the flower from the little ladybug stamp set. This is available in my Stampin' Up shop if you spend over, I think it's £250. And I'm using the Hey Lady. So I'm just going to put those on one side, move this out of the way. And then I've got my mat here that I'm going to load into my machine. And I've got my little ladybug on the bottom. I've also got the Hey Lady stamp, but I'm not doing anything with that with the ScanNCut. So I want to put a shape around here. Now, normally when I do a direct cut, I, add a 0.4 outline border and cut the shape out with a white border. But I'm actually wanting to use a shape to put round this. And I'm going to use one of the shapes from within the direct scan facility rather than the basic shape. So I'll show you what I mean. So that's my mat loaded into the machine. I'm going to use scan, direct cut. I'm going to temporarily save the scan into the machine, and I'm going to say start. So I can see my little ladybug on the screen. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to drag in the arrows, the red arrows, just to isolate the area of the little ladybug so the machine knows what it is I'm actually trying to, cut. I'm going to say preview, and I'm going to say OK. And then normally I would go into the offset and add my offset, but this time I'm going to go into the shapes icon here. And I'm going to scroll down using the single downward arrow. And you can see they're all different shapes in here that you can choose. And I am going to choose, I think I'll have, oh dear, too many choices now. This one. So I'm going to say OK, and it frames the image automatically because we've done the direct scan. So I'm going to say OK, select cut, and start. So I'm going to say OK, finish cutting, and then I'm going to hit back. Now I can see that I've got that shape still on the screen. So I'm going to go to the offset icon. I'm going to add a 0.04 outline. I'm going to say OK, OK. And then now what I'm going to do, I'm not going to unload the mat because it's easier to just do it while it's here. I'm going to remove the waste because I need this for later because it's got my little saying on it. I'm going to bring in my scrap of Flirty Flamingo and I'm going to position it on the mat where my ladybug was. So it needs to be positioned about here. So if I just put that there for now. Remove that one gently. flip this one back over so I know where it is. Just saves me messing about doing a scan and everything. And now I'm going to say select, cut. I'm going to say start, and then I'm just going to rub it down on the mat as it goes in, just to secure it. Just going to lift it off the mat, and now my little ladybug has got a matting layer with a 0.04 border perfectly cut. So I'm going to just put this on one side for a minute, and then I'll get on with the next bit. So I'm just going to do a little bit of colouring. So I've got light smoky slate, light petal pink, light flirty flamingo, because that's the colour of the card and the paper that I'm going to be using. I've got some pool party, and this is light lovely lipstick. So I'm just going to quickly colour the little ladybug in. So I'm using the light petal pink on her face. Going to use the light flirty flamingo for the wings. I'm not doing a red because I want it to kind of tie in with my box. I'm going to use the light smoky slate on the body. Just going to bring in the petal pink again, and I'm just going to colour her little hands and feet. I'm going to use the lovely lipstick for the flower, and the reason that I'm using lovely lipstick is it's a colour that was in this paper in the set last year. I'm just going to bring in my pool party, and I'm just going to go round the outside edge. It kind of just gives her a bit of a grounding, rather than it just being floating, if that makes sense, just on the shape. So I'm going to stick this down. I've not made this, so I don't know how this is going to look. I've just done my little prototype that I've just shown you. So that's how we're looking so far. And now I'm going to bring in the bits to do my box. I love this little ladybug set. I mean, I've used it a lot. I've got a couple of projects here that you've probably already seen on my channel, and if you've not, these are all on my YouTube channel. So that's a box I did with the Scan and Cut and decorated it. This was a project I did as a Facebook Live. This card, I made the stencil background, and then in another video I showed you how to use the embossing paste with the stencil I made, and then I made that into a card. So, you know, it's so versatile, and there are other cards on my Instagram where I've used this set. I've used it loads. So I'm going to bring in my Simply scoreboard. And just bring me a bit of paper in to remind me where I need to score. So you've got one side that's 7 and one side that's 6. So on the 7-inch side, you need to score it at 1 inch and 6 inches. Then on the short side, which is the 6-inch side, you need to score it at 1/2 inch, 2 1/4, 3 1/4, and 5. And that's all the scoring done. So the bit with the 1/2 inch is the top. So now I'm just going to fold and burnish on all these fold lines. And if you don't have a bone folder, I would definitely recommend one. Whenever you're making cards or boxes, a bone folder is vital. It just gives all your, your folds, makes them nice and crisp. Right, I'm going to bring in my scissors. So, with the 1/2 inch section at the top, you're going to cut away the top 2 rectangles completely. So I'm just going to cut them straight for now. I might angle them in or round the edges in a minute, but we'll see. And then what you need to do, you need to cut on these fold lines here on the sides, just up to the main big line. So and these squares become your glue tabs. So what you can do, if you fold in the bigger sections so they're out of the way, and then you can just notch these in, angle cut them. It just helps your box go together a bit better. And I'll show you what I'm cutting off, just little slithers. And then you're going to do the same on the opposite side. So cut up on your score lines. Fold the 2 big sections in out of the way and then do the same. You're basically cutting off your score marks, and it just makes it look a little bit neater. So this is what you've got now. So these 4 tabs become your gluing section, and basically what happens is they fold in like that on both sides to create your box, and then this will fold over. So I think I might just round the corners. Going to bring in my envelope punch board because it's got a corner rounder. Just going to tuck those flaps in out of the way and pop that in there and round the corners. And that's all I'm doing. So I'm just going to apply So I'm folding in these 4 squares and I'm going to apply some glue on here. Now I'm going to use wet glue, so I'm going to have to hold it for a few minutes, but I think Tombow wet glue is far better for 3D projects. You could use you know, some tear and tape, but I wouldn't use snail on something like this because it'll probably ping apart. Snail's all right for putting paper on card or paper to paper, but if you're making a 3D project like this, it's better to use a wet glue or a really strong. So just put in a little bit of wet glue. You don't need a lot. You know, you don't want it oozing out everywhere, but it will hold. So I'm going to fold that one in and hold it for a minute till it grabs, and then fold that one in till it grabs. So that's the kind of basis of your box. Now these might need a trim, but I leave them until the end to see. Yeah, they do. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to trim about 1/4 of an inch off. And see how we go. And then I'm going to angle this edge and this edge. So the edge nearest the flat. I'm going to put my little fizzes into there, and you can see they fit lovely. And then that tucks in there like so. So that's my little box. Now I'm just going to add my papers, and I am going to use snail for this. And these hearts do have a direction, so I'm just making sure that they are in the right orientation. And that's another reason why I'm putting them on now. You could have put it on while it was flat if your paper, you know, didn't have a specific direction. So that's how we're looking now. This is going to go on here, but I'm going to add something else to it, and I just need my little bit of scrap now for my Hey Lady. So I'm just going to bring in my little mini guillotine, and this is free. If you join my Stampin' Up team during celebration, which is on now, you get this free with a free stamp set of your choice and 48 sheets of double-sided designer series paper, and that's all in addition to you being able to choose £130 worth of product for £99. So it's a great deal at the moment if you do want to join. I'm just going to pop this in and then trim this up. Yeah. Now I'm going to bring in some flax ribbon. Just going to cut off So I've just cut off that end piece so that I can get a couple of strands and shred it. might have to get a couple more. I think I must have cut into them. So there you go. So I've got 2 strands of this. I'm just going to see if I can tie it round twice. And I can. Tie a bow. Make my bow smaller. I'm going to trim those ends. Get all this out of the way. I'm going to pop this up on dimensionals. See how this is going to look. Just pop that there for a minute and then slide that underneath, I think. Yes, so I'm going to pop that on there. I'm going to get a mini dimensional for this and put it on this end because the other end is going to slide underneath. Like so. I'm going to bring in some embellishments and I'm just going to pop a tiny rhinestone in the middle of the flower. And that's it done. What do you think? I love it. So a cute little Valentine project. Probably give this to my daughter as it's got bath fizzes in it. But you know, just from some paper and a bit of card and a little bit of stamping. So if you want to shop Stampin' Up products and you're going to be spending more than £99, now is the best time to join. As I say, for £99 you get to choose £130 worth of product of your choice from any catalogue that's available at the moment. In addition to that, you'll get the free mini guillotine, you'll get a 48 sheets of 6x6 designer series paper and another stamp set and a stamp set of your choice completely free. So all the contact details and how to join are on my Apple Lover 53 website under the Stampin' Up tab, and there'll be links to that directly underneath this video. So please give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you don't already do so, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.